Hello there and welcome to the Seamless Cloud Connectivity demonstration brought to you by Quantique. My name is Chris Jones. I'm the Security Solutions Specialist here at Crypto. Let's have a look at the products that we're going to showcase today. So here you can see two. There is the QDID and the QuarkLink. These form part of the Quantique's Q architecture. So the QDID, which stands for Quantum Driven Identity. The QDID is a hardware IP block that can be integrated into a customer's semiconductor device, examples of which are an ASIC, a system on chip or a microcontroller. Once integrated, the QDID forms part of the root of trust of that host device. It then can produce unforgeable, tamper-proof and impossible to counterfeit random seeds that can be used to generate cryptographic keys and identities. Because it's a hardware IP block, there are issues with testing during the semiconductor manufacturing process, and here at Crypto we've ensured that there is a built-in self-test that can alleviate any issues here. Because the QDID has quite a large pool of random data, it can be used to create multiple uncorrelated cryptographic keys, and also it means that the customer does not have to inject keys into their host device for any security requirements, thus reducing costs. Let's now have a look at the QuarkLink. The QuarkLink is a software security platform that allows you to connect IoT devices to cloud applications and to do that securely and at scale. It manages the security from your hardware device, your chip, to your application that's in the cloud. It can enable data to be encrypted from that device through your cloud service provider to your web application. This is great for those customers who don't wish to have the cloud service providers see their data. The really cool thing about the QuarkLink is that it also becomes the certificate authority for your IoT ecosystem. It means you don't have to go externally for root certificates, and everything is handled from the QuarkLink point of view when it comes to PKI, that's public key infrastructure. It also supports third-party roots of trust, not only those roots of trust that include the QDID. We can support other roots of trust such as SRAM puffs, secure crypto engines, secure enclaves, etc. Let's have a look at the demo setup that we have for today. Here you can see I have a Wi-Fi module. This is simply to allow us to connect really easily to a network. The Wi-Fi module has an SPI interface to one of our test chips. Inside the test chip is a microcontroller and several QDID arrays. This test chip allows me to extract random seeds from the QDID array and therefore generate cryptographic keys which I can use to connect to our QuarkLink. I have a temperature probe that's connected to the Wi-Fi module. This is to allow me to send some data up to my AWS account once I've onboarded. The Wi-Fi module is connected to a laptop through a USB connection. This allows me to run a small application on the laptop to control the Wi-Fi module. Things like setting breakpoints and pausing the demonstration, because if I just ran the demonstration all in one go, you would hardly see anything. So down here you can see the actual parts that I'm using for the demo. Let's run through the demonstration. First of all, let me explain what you're seeing on the screen. On the top right, I have a camera pointing down towards a development board. On that development board is a QDID microcontroller. It is connected to this Wi-Fi module through an SPI interface. This allows me to extract random seeds from the QDID array, generate cryptographic keys, and use them to connect securely to both the QuarkLink and the AWS cloud service. Down here on the lower right, you have an application, and it is connected through this USB interface to the Wi-Fi module. This application is just simply something that we use in-house to run demonstrations. It allows us to control the Wi-Fi module, run through single steps, etc. There's no need for this, of course, for a customer final product. So let's have a look at the QuarkLink dashboard, which you can see in the main screen here. Here you can see the URL of this QuarkLink. It's based on our server over in London, and here on the status you can see some of the services that the QuarkLink uses. These QuarkLink instances can be generated very quickly for customers who wish to have some evaluation of a QuarkLink. So the dashboard gives you some idea of the connected devices, the status of the certificates, etc. Here we have a menu called IoT Hubs. This is where you would set up your AWS, Azure, Mosquito, or whatever cloud service it is you wish to connect to, your login details. Because the QuarkLink needs that in order to log on to that cloud service to register the device once it's trying to connect. We have a menu here to select security policies, which are explaining what your product is allowed to access once it connects to the cloud service. The HSM allows you to look at the PKI structure that the QuarkLink automatically generates for you and manages. And then under devices is where you actually configure the QuarkLink to allow it to connect to your IoT devices. So how do we do that? So in this example, what I'm going to do is extract the identity of this QDID that's on this development board. If I now send it a command to give me the device ID, you'll see that the module has requested the identity from the QDID microcontroller, and it's given me this 256-bit code. That is basically the true identity of this QDID. So I'm going to copy that, and this is the identity that we're going to use to allow this device to connect to both the QuarkLink and the cloud service. So now I'm going to configure the QuarkLink so that it's prepared to respond to this particular identity. So let's go ahead now and create a batch. Well, what is a batch? So a batch is a group of identities that you want to onboard to a cloud service. For example, say I was making a line of fridges, I would call that fridges. And then what I would do here is I would select the security policy for that batch of fridges or identities. In this case, it includes the IoT hub to log into, which is AWS, and what resources these batch of fridges can use on that AWS service. And then what I do is I tell the QuarkLink all the identities of the devices that I want to configure and onboard. In this case, I only have one. So let's paste that in here. Now obviously that's not going to be a realistic case. You don't necessarily just do one device. So ideally you would upload a file of devices. This is just simply a text file which includes a JSON formatted file with all the identities in it. But of course in a production environment you would simply call an API to this QuarkLink with the file uploading all the identities that you want to be part of this batch. So let me save this batch. So what have I done here? Well, basically I've just configured the QuarkLink and told it that if this particular identity tries to connect to you, I want you to enroll it, and then I want you to onboard it to AWS using the security policy I've selected as part of that policy in the drop-downs. And that's basically it. This process of onboarding a device to a cloud service provider is extremely complex. It involves the need to manage keys and certificates, verification certificates and root certificates to ensure that the device connects to the service securely. But here you've simply just told the QuarkLink the identities of the device you want to onboard. Far simpler than the traditional method. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if this is going to work. Right, so I have my device down here. I've told the QuarkLink to unload it or onboard it when it connects. Let's see if we can connect. So I'm going to run the actual Wi-Fi module now to the first breakpoint. The first thing it's going to do is going to connect to my local network. I'm working from home, of course, these days, so it's connected to my network. Now what it's going to do is it's going to create a certificate signing request using this identity that it's extracted from the QDID, and it's going to prepare that ready to start enrolling onto the QuarkLink. So let me run to that point. It's extracted the ID out of the QuarkLink, the QDID that's on this chip, and now it's going to try and enroll with this QuarkLink. So let's go ahead and see if that carries on. So you can see down here it's doing a simple enroll. It's now talking to the QuarkLink and requesting to be onboarded, and it's been enrolled. If I now go over here on the QuarkLink and refresh the screen, you can see now that there is one device enrolled. If we have a look, you can see the actual certificate that's been generated by the QuarkLink, and this would have been downloaded to this Wi-Fi module so that it's ready to onboard to the AWS cloud service. Good. So let's run to the next step. But before that, I'm going to show you the AWS account that I've put registered under the IoT Hub, which was part of the policy. So let's have a look at AWS. If I put the identity in here and search for it, you'll see here it is. It's previously been connected. And here you can see that there is a certificate already in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to detach that certificate. That's an old certificate, so that you can see for this particular device, if I go into the security, there is no certificate. So this particular device I have here would not be able to connect to AWS until that had been registered, and that will be registered by the QuarkLink. And how do I set that going? I will now set the Wi-Fi module to go to the next breakpoint. I run. It will get the final certificates from the QuarkLink, and the QuarkLink will now register this particular device with AWS. If I keep refreshing my AWS screen and look under security, you can see here is a certificate. It's been registered, which means my Wi-Fi module can now log on to AWS. If I now continue forward, there you go. My device has onboarded to AWS. It was sent all the required information, the URL for AWS, its endpoint, and all its security privileges, and it's onboarded to AWS. If we have a look at this certificate, you can see that that is the security policy on the common name. You can see my identity here, and you can see that the certificate was generated just now. That's the time, 15:14, and you can see on my laptop it's 15:17. So you can see that that certificate was registered live on this demo. You can see it's sending some information up to AWS, so we can have a quick look to see if that's actually being received correctly. So if I subscribe to all the updates, you can see here QL demo, it's sending a temperature regularly. So you can see here how easy it was to actually connect and onboard a device to your cloud service provider by a simple configuration of the QuarkLink. That concludes the demonstration of the QDID and QuarkLink. If you'd like to know more information about Quantique, then please visit our website on the URL you can see here. Here you can find articles and more interesting information about quantum technology and cryptography. All that leads me to say is thank you very much for watching the demo, and you have a great day.